Good day. My name is Pete Kane, founder of Podcast Pete. We help entrepreneurs reverse and flip the script. 80% of entrepreneurs fail in those first years. We want 80% to succeed. And it's hard work. Not everybody is ready to succeed as an entrepreneur, especially as a high performance entrepreneur. But some of the things you're going to learn in this course will help you fight the battle because it's a battle. You have to be battle tested as an entrepreneur. So, here, we're going to give you today the science behind habits. See, habits create outcomes, but how do you get to the positive outcome that you want? You have to understand the science behind it. You can't set a habit without understanding how this works. The brain, as we know it, controls a lot of how we form those habits. So understanding this part is going to be critical. So let's go into the science of habits. We're going to talk about cue, routine, reward. Cue, routine, reward. Now, that's the framework for the science behind habits. And understanding what these mean will help you be successful in forming these habits. Because if habits create outcomes, which they do, you're going to want to master the subject of habits. And it doesn't just happen like what you hear one thing and now you've got a habit. You got to work on it, rewire your brain, reprogram, do different things, create different outcomes. But here I'm going to give you really the essence of it. So cue is a trigger. So what could a trigger be? I'm bored. I go to social media. I start scrolling. Okay. So an hour goes by, I'm still scrolling. So that's a habit. The cue was the fatigue. So what you have to do to change that reward, because you're rewarding yourself by scrolling and maybe getting a little dopamine hit. So what you do is take the app off your phone. Maybe it's a new way you do it. When you're bored, you look at your goals. You look at your framework for what you want to do positively. So you break this, because a habit can be, I come home, I'm stressed out, I eat my dinner quickly, and then I veg out on the couch. And then 4 hours later, which is the average for Americans, I'm watching aimlessly, just saying I've got to chill out. Well, what you have to do is form new habits. Maybe a change would be, instead of vegging out, it's investing in personal development, investing in a program that's going to improve your life. Maybe it's creating something, because if you're consuming, which you are with TV, you're not going to get the fulfillment out of your life. But if you're creating, like we're doing right here, creating a program. I used a number of different ways to create this program, one of which was AI. To give me the framework, then it's kind of the bones. So let's just say that's 80% of that habit. 20% is my meat that I put on it, what I'm doing right now. Now, one of the habits I am creating is learning more about this topic. So I didn't know the science behind habits. All I knew is I knew how to set them. I knew how to stack them, Atomic Habits, James Clear, if you've never read that book. It's an excellent one. Stacking all those habits created a mindset that I couldn't miss. And let me give you an example. I lived at Overture for almost 2 years. Had a stroke almost 3 years ago. So I am getting back into the habit of moving, of getting the left side, which you see in the right, moving again. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, for almost 2 years, I was in the gym. Now, a lot of people will say, oh man, that takes a lot of willpower. Well, not really. It takes atomically layering so many habits. And I'll give you my routine. So I wake up like 3 o'clock. I spend about an hour preparing for my team, Team Trexa. They're 13 hours different than me, so the schedule is flipped. So I started getting up earlier so I could get some direction, some guidance, some coaching. And then I do that for about an hour, along with drink my water first thing, because you dehydrate when you sleep. So you hydrate again. Okay. So what happens there? I put water on my nightstand. So I don't have to go anywhere. I just drink. So that becomes before I go to bed, I make sure I have my water on my nightstand. I get up. I actually don't get up. I do it sometimes right from the bed. Sometimes I got up at Overture more than I do now. But what I did was I started writing. I started planning. I started brainstorming. I started thinking. I started meditating. And all those things were activating that get up and go do it. When I went down, so I would spend between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on the day, riding a bike. Okay. When I was riding the bike, what was I listening to? Personal development. I was listening to Growth Day. I was listening to Brendon Burchard, who is the best in the business. When it comes to personal development and motivation, there's nobody even close. Now, he surrounds himself with good people. That's a whole story for another time. But I would listen to his personal message every single day. I'd sometimes listen to it twice. Then I'd go back. Well, let me just back up just a second. Then every other day I did upper body and then legs. So I had a routine. Okay. So then I'd go back, I'd get my cup of coffee, and I would sit there, think, apply what I'm learning, writing, planning the day. That time of on the bike, so that's 20 to 30 minutes where I'm feeding my brain. So when I wake up, if there was a morning that I didn't feel like it, after I got that habit created, I couldn't wait. I had trouble activating, slowing down the brain. I worked on that, but that's a different thing. So what would happen is I couldn't wait to hit the gym because it activated all these positive stackable habits. And when you stack all those on top of each other, the idea of missing is not even there because I had so many. I just couldn't wait to brainstorm, couldn't wait to write, couldn't wait to think, couldn't wait to plan, couldn't wait to drink my coffee in quiet environment. And so I missed a 3 week little chunk of time. I fell. I was carrying like Santa Claus over the corner of my shoulder because they had just forced on us what do you call it, concierge trash services. I don't need it. I can do this. So I threw the bag over my head. I'm walking. Well, I caught my toe on the carpet, flew into the air. I didn't face plant. I rib planted. Now, when ribs hit concrete wins. Bam! 3 ladies came out of the room. It was a big bang. and I'm losing my breath, gasping. I mean, I'm trying to breathe and trying to get myself because it was a blow. The EMTs come because she said we called because they couldn't get me up, and it was a mess. So they come, they get me up. I finally get back to my room, and I call a friend of mine, and I said, "Hey, this is what happened." At the time, it didn't. I mean, at that minute, it didn't bother me. He goes, "Well, I got good news and bad news. Good news is you're alive. Bad news is you're going to wish you weren't, because for 3 weeks you're going to go through hell on earth because you're breathing, and when you're breathing, you're pushing against the ribs. So every time you breathe, it would be like, oh, painful, like you've never had it. Then if you sneezed, holy mackerel, that was the worst pain I've ever experienced besides being constipated at Wellstar. And that's a whole story for a different day. Oh, geez. I just remembered that. Okay. So 3 weeks in a chair, upright. I couldn't move. When the Tylenol would wear off, the pain would hit. And you couldn't time it perfectly. So you had to have just 3 weeks of pain. And he said, after 3 weeks, you'll be better. And I'm telling you, 3 weeks to the day, he was right. I was better. I was sleeping again. So I missed one other day. There was a time in my life that some positive news came and I slept like a baby. And I woke up at like 6 o'clock, and I have to go to Rotary on Thursday at 6:30. So I didn't have time to go down there, work out. I just had time to get a shower and get out the door. But that was the only time. And I'm saying, let's see, almost 2 years. So let's say 365, and we won't say another 200. So that's 565 days. One, I missed because of the ribs. Two, I missed one other day. So that's the example of stacking so many positive things on top of it. You create a habit, because the old joke, we're almost turning the corner if you're listening to this and it's 24. The gym, every day, every year, January is like really crowded because everybody says, hey, I'm going to get in shape. And it lasts 30 days. Then it's back to nothing, back to normal. So if you approach the first of the year and you say, okay, along with going to the gym or working out, you put your tennis shoes out first. They're out. You don't have to do anything but put your tennis shoes on. Then you listen to personal development while you're there working out. So you're feeding your mind and your body. Then you put another positive. Try to stack as many positive things on top of a new habit. So when that cue, like I don't feel like going to work out, the reward, which is the second part, the routine becomes, I'm going to stack all these things on top. And then the reward is you're not quitting after 30 days or after a few weeks. When you get emotionally, oh yeah, this is going to be the year. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to do it this year. And then all of a sudden the brain thinks, what the heck? You look, for the last 10 years, you've had a New Year's resolution, and what has happened? So over here, you're listening to this side of the shoulder. Then you got this one is the courage. The courage is creating those outcomes, creating those habits, saying, hey, look, the past doesn't equal the future. So even though I didn't understand the science behind a habit, now I do. So you start stacking all these positive things on top of this new habit, and it becomes so the routine becomes so the dopamine hit in the brain is so much that you won't miss it. And the reward, which is the third framework of it, is you get in shape. Because when you look at it, and part of me getting in shape that way was when you go through trauma and you realize that you can't run, you have to learn how to walk, all these new things, and you have to deal with the cards of the day. So you have to create new habits. New habits. You want to be always in a position to create more and more habits. And to be successful doesn't necessarily mean, I've heard some things like just do it for 21 straight days. I don't think that really works. It never worked for me until I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I understood the science behind it. Stack, 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 stack on top of each other. All these positive things to create the dopamine that hits your brain, that allows you to not depend on willpower. Because, hey, willpower is short-lived, and emotionally you might have a bad day, and all of a sudden you say, I'm going to the gym, and you've had a rough day, you're worn out, and you're just depending on willpower. It ain't going to work. It won't work. What will work is, that there's so much positive outcome from that habit, you won't dare miss. So you can put together 500 plus days of going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And what happens? The outcome comes, I learn because I'm learning while I'm riding the bike. So I'm doing something, not just listening to music, which is no problem with that. I'm not saying, but you're growing physically. Why not grow mentally? So growth day, I'll give you another example. I was listening to a podcast with Ed Milet and Brendon Burchard, and I had seen Brendon, I don't know, 8-10 years ago in a weekend conference. A friend of mine invited me. I was in LA, and she said, hey, look, this guy that's really good, he's doing a weekend conference. Do you want to come? And I said, yeah. She said she had an extra ticket or something. So I flew up to San Francisco, went. I was blown away. Holy mackerel, was he good. And I don't remember the academy that he was teaching at that time, but it was something. Well, fast forward about 8 years, and I've always been into personal development, but I kind of lost track of him. I don't know how you can, but I did. But I really liked Ed Milet. I had a friend, D, who we geeked out because we had the same mentor. One time we found out on our podcast that we both had the same mentor. So anyway, I'm listening to this podcast, and he mentions Growth Day. I'm going, Growth Day? What the heck is that? And it's an app, and he said it was a community. So I Googled it, found it. And at the time, it was 14 days free trial. Tried it, was blown away because every single day he was given a unique framework to me. And it was like, how did I miss this? It's like, hello, McFly, what happened? I mean, he's out there. He's got more content out there than anybody, more. And I did not, for some reason, I had seen his name occasionally, but it just didn't click. I don't know why. There's a cool thing, and I'll give you this. Daniel Priestley, who has built, I think, 8 businesses from scratch. And that's what we want to do, is flip the script. Instead of 80% going out of business the first year, we want to flip it to 20% and 80% succeeding. So he has a thing called 7-11-4. Consume 7 hours of somebody, make 11 buying signals, make like somebody's raised their hand, their interest is kind of Google's moment of truth when somebody searches 10.6 times that 12th time, they round it off to 11. That 12th time is when the brain switches, because It just, you've seen it enough, you've done your research, you've done all that, now you're ready to buy. You're looking at size, you're looking at all these different things. Well, in the digital world, you consume 7 hours of a person, make 11 buying signals, and see it on 4 different platforms. Say you read a book, listen to a podcast, read a video, get a white paper, read a blog, watch a YouTube video, an Instagram post, a short form video, whatever it is, different platforms. The brain just goes, switches, like, I know, like, and trust this person, because you've gotten enough from the person digitally. You do that, know, like, and trust. It's magical. He did it for me. I had a person, Christian, who was on my podcast, and I asked him, how do you want your viewers to reach out to you? And he said, well, I have an assessment and I have a newsletter. I said, okay, give me those. So he gives them to me. And I was going, like, I was thinking to myself, assessment, interesting. I'd heard a couple podcasts with Daniel Priestley. So we do the podcast. I hear a story, unbelievable. And I think his last name is spelled Doir. I'm going to get it down because I know him as Christian. So after the podcast, I think the next day, I take the assessment and the light bulb went off. Bingo! It's like I knew what it was. I knew the power of it. It was incredible. And so that for me started a path. Now everybody in our community, I have that as part of our masterclass, our ecosystem. Because if you don't take an assessment, how the heck do you know where a person is, how you can help them? If they don't give you that feedback, you can't help people if they're not ready or whatever it is. They give you the information that allows you to meet them where they are and help them. So it's important to take an assessment. That's a different strategy for different time. But what I'm saying with Daniel Priestley is 7-11-4. And when it comes to habits, just dig in. You have the rest of this course, and we're going to give you, because in this course, what I'm doing is to learn a particular skill, teach it. That's a strategy that we're in the digital revolution, the digital world. It's content creation. And how do you learn? You teach. We remember 10% of what we hear. We remember 90% of what we teach. So be a person to take something and teach it. So when I started teaching 7-11-4, I know it down. I mean, if you wake me up at 2:00 in the morning and say, what's Daniel Priestley's formula? I go 7-11-4. I mean, because it just rolls off my tongue. And that's because I've talked about it. I've done it. I probably listened to as much of his content as I have with Brendon Burchard. So Growth Day, and I should probably give you a little help here. And okay, hold on here. Let me give you some help. Yes, we're going to give you, what are we going to do? Yeah, right here. You can try it for 7 days. Try it. If you like it, which you will, and you go to PeteKane.me/growth day, we give you a free gift. It's $49 a month that you invest in yourself. You want to take that assessment we talked about, go to PeteKane.me. And if you want a masterclass, you can. That's our ecosystem. And part of the masterclass is something really important. How do you use AI in your business? There's a free mini course by my partner, Jeff Bourgeois. And if you're not sure of him, search him on LinkedIn. He has Big Thinker Universe, and he has put it more into the application of how to apply AI in your business. And you hear little sound bites, and you form your belief system based on hearing a few things. It doesn't work that way. You got to dig. You got to find out, you got to research it. Not just one person, but getting different perspectives. That's where Growth Day does it. Once a month, the beginning of the month, he has a topic. That's the topic for the month. Then he has 8 instructors, multi-million dollar trainers, teachers, speakers, give you different perspective. And that way you're learning all kinds of different styles of 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 a person's content, but the focus is on one topic. And so, and I, even coming up, if you're listening to this before January 1, if you get Growth Day, let me just put that back on there. January 1, you get Growth Day, then email us. We'll get you a free gift. And actually, the free gift is this course. So some will pay, some will get it free, but we want to reward people because it's an affiliate program. So I want to be able to help you. And the more I know who is accessing personal development, the more I can help you. So January 1 coming up, he has, for the 16th straight year, he's going to spend 2 hours with you, helping you frame 2025, helping you get off to a great start. We're in the biggest transition, transformation, change in our lifetime, and it's happening now. So you need a strategy. You need a strategy for 25. So get Growth Day, try it for 7 days, get the January 1st training, 2 hours, and you can even get habits. High Performance Habits is free in there as part of the program, but you're going to want it. $49 to invest in you. You're the best investment you can ever make. Okay, let's go back to the cue. So your framework is that you have a cue, you have a routine, and you have a reward. And so knowing how the cues work, because cues trigger the brain, you have to be aware of what kind of triggers you have. Let's say it's a trigger that when you get bored, you go to the pantry and you look for some snacks. Okay. Now, if you don't change that, the outcome of that habit is going to be you're not going to be as healthy. But if when you're bored, you click on Growth Day and you learn, you feed your mind, you help your mind grow, you get better each day. And so that boredom habit of going to the snacks becomes a habit of personal development. Then you put another habit on there. You apply it. You write it in your journal. And if you get Growth Day, it has goals, journals, challenges, and score. You have to score yourself. What does that mean? It means you got to know where you are each day, like each week. So scoring yourself and giving yourself that necessary feedback can be when you get bored, score yourself. When you get bored, journal. When you get bored, take a challenge. When you get bored, look at your goals. So separate a negative habit with a positive one. And so what happens when you do that? You start stacking positive things on top of something you want to change. And so what I want to do here is I want to give you, that's the long-term success. I mean, I'll do workout. I still haven't gotten a routine because I moved and it's just a little bit different. You got to get your environment down. You got to get to where you don't even think. And that's when you get to the point where you're not even have to put any mental energy towards a habit, then you know you got it. But until then, you got to start changing, just doing all the things to get your habits where you want it. That's long-term success because habits create outcome. Understanding the science behind it, the 3-step framework, cue, routine, reward. Q, routine, reward. So, what's your homework? So, the homework is take one habit. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And if you take one habit, then write that habit down and start thinking, what can I put on top of this habit? James Clear, get his book. Invest in yourself. Invest in your personal development, because 2025 is going to be the biggest year of my lifetime, and depending on how old you are, your lifetime. Either you're young or you're older, but it'll be the most transformational ever. Whether it's AI, which really saves you time. Time is the essence of everything. We all get 24 hours. How we spend it, what kind of habits we have, creates the mindset. And the mindset helps you to set better goals. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the course, because it's mindset, habits, and goals. Mindset, goals, and habits. I get them mixed up. But anyway, so take one habit and then comment. You can get a hold of me at, let me see if I have this on here. I think I do. Maybe it's support@PeteKane.me. No, I know I do, but I can only see so many. But support@PeteKane.me, or you can find me anywhere. Just Google search me. And so what we want to do the next week, we're going to cover another part of it. And I'm going to see, it's going to be goal setting fundamentals. And there's some art, there's some strategies that I think you'll really enjoy. Let me know how you're doing with your homework. If you know of anybody that you think could benefit this, because some of these videos are out in public, and then some of it's in a course that we have. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Be bold, make an impact, and have fun. Be bold, make an impact, and have fun.